Okay. Let's see. Hmm. Hello, one viewer. I'm sure that's probably Meg. Oh, two viewers. Hi, guys. If my microphone is too loud, let me know and I will turn it down. Um, let's see. I'm doing this on. This is my first ever stream, so if you guys could bear with me, it'd be great. Because I have no idea what I'm doing at all. Like, in the least. Oh, hi. Oh, there's a live chat. Hi, Wolf Gamer. Oh, hi. I remember you from the one viewer. Already hard. Okay, that's nice. Um, okay, so I'm gonna be doing some live readings of whatever you guys really want. So I have the first one I'm gonna be reading. I don't know. I'm gonna wait just a few minutes. Can you guys hear me okay? I love you too. Is the microphone okay? I doubt I'm the best YouTuber ever, but I'm trying my best. Um, okay, good. All right. Let's see. Like this was supposed to broadcast on my Twitter, but I'm not sure. Did you guys get the notification for it? Did you get the notification on your phone? Three watching. I'm hoping that this is going to go right, but only if I only have like 3 or 4 people in here, that's more than enough. So I'm gonna wait just a few more minutes to see if there's any more people that are gonna come in. I'm actually waiting for let me go ahead and broadcast this on my Twitter. Give me 1 second, guys. And if you guys have any requests for narration, then go ahead and send them to me in the chat. Okay, some people apparently are getting an error that they can't watch my stream. That's really weird. I do have a PS4. Yes. And my PS4 username is CATOSKITTY. I'll type it in there. And you guys can, if you have, you can add me and I will add you back. But I ain't gonna go and look for you. Okay. You can add me, and I will add you back. Deal? I was gonna do a video live chat, but like I look really bad today, so I decided not to. But in the future, I will for sure be doing this as a video live chat. I'm actually looking at trying to figure out on these settings if it's gonna. Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's working. I don't know. Because it was supposed to broadcast on my everything else. Ugh. All right, I will add you back whenever I get on PS4, which is usually every day. So apparently I'm not doing something right because some people are getting an error. I'm getting messages from my friends who are trying to join the live chat, and they're saying that they're getting an error on. They're saying I don't understand. Ooh, I played Life is Strange. It is really good. It's really, 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 really good. And I highly recommend it. Whoa. Highly recommend it. Oh. Well, it's working for me on my phone. That's weird. Okay. Well. But you're going to stream right now, but stay in my stream? Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're saying you're doing? Um. Okay, well. Why does my phone keep saying I have no connection? Lies. You're a liar. You're a liar, phone. I know you're a liar. Okay. Well, don't like. He, what if someone else wanted to play that game? You just gave away spoilers. What are you doing? That's bad. But I did too. I cried. I got very invested. Very, very invested. And that last decision you have to make is the worst possible one. If anybody else knows what we're talking about, it's a game where you have choices that you have to make, and any choice that you make does the story a different way. So I'm doing this through Google Hangouts. No, I know you can save her, but you know what the other option is, right? Don't give away anything, but I know you know what the other option is. And I ended up with the other option. I know, right? It is. It's like The Walking Dead. Or if you've ever played Game of Thrones, okay, good. I'm glad you know the end because I didn't want anybody to be spoiled by that. I was like, either the entire town goes or we save her. So I was like, well, that's a shitty option. Thanks a lot, game. I appreciate that. I literally table flipped everything in my head at Game of Thrones. Have any of you guys played Game of Thrones, the Telltale game series? Oh my god. That was literally, I am still angry about that, and it's been like a month since I played it. Literally the worst choice game they have. It is worse than The Walking Dead. It is worse than Life is Strange. It is worse than anything. But we all know what uh Game of Thrones is like anyway, so I guess it's accurate. Okay, well, I don't know. I guess how many people are even in here? Just two? Just you guys? You two? Yep, two. It's okay. Two is good. I like two. Two's a good number. Um, let me share this on my Wattpad. What do you mean there's no connection? You're such a liar, my phone. God. All right, fine. Go on 4G. Okay, share. Thank you. Do you have an option for Wattpad on your phone? No. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. I do have one short story. I just uploaded a teaser trailer for a new series that I'm going to be starting called When the Black-Eyed Children Knock. I don't know if you guys. Oh, thank you, Wolf Gamer. I appreciate it very much. I'm trying. But it's by a guy named Ben Sobieck, and he's a very talented writer. And I just did a teaser trailer for him. And I'll be doing chapter by chapter for his. But with Miss Horrendous, I will be doing hers. Her video is almost an hour long so far. Because I'm doing it more like book on tape. So there's only going to be maybe 3 or 4 videos for her because I'm doing it so long. Let me broadcast this on my Wattpad. Hang on. 1 moment. Okay, let's see. Wow, I didn't realize I had over 1,000 followers on Wattpad. That's crazy. Okay. I'm hoping. Oh, 3 watching. Saying 3 is watching. Are there 3 people in here? Do I live alone? That is a very creepy thing to ask. Although I am a horror channel now, so I guess that's okay. No, I do not live alone. I have roommates. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We just had that hurricane come over our house. That was fun. I live in New Orleans. But it didn't knock my power out or anything, so that's good. All right. Well, I'm going to give this probably 1 more minute. And then I'm going to start the he gave me a story that I can read first. It's called The End of the Light in the Tunnel. So it's a short story. Oh, you live in Alabama. Cool. Been there many times. Many, many times. Unfortunately. Just kidding. No, I like Gulf Shores and stuff like that. I have a lot of family that lives in Mobile. Do you guys want me to go ahead and get started with this short story? even though there's only a couple of people in here. Yeah, it's 5:10 here. All right, shiz. All right, well, I'll go ahead and start reading this to you guys. If we don't get any more people in here, I'll probably only just read this, and then once I figure out how to encode a live stream, which I have no idea how to do. Apparently, you have to download encoding software and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know how to do that. So, but I will figure it out, and it will be better. And the more stories that I put out, the more people will subscribe and the more people will be in here. But I am so thankful to have you guys. You guys are the best. So I really appreciate you guys being here. So, because if no people showed up, I would have been extremely upset. All right. Let's see. How many people? 3 people. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and do this one short story. And this is by, again, I said Ben Sobieck. I hope I'm saying that right. He wrote make sure you go check out that teaser trailer that I just put up for the when the black-eyed children knock. Oh, hi. Oh my gosh. You're the best. Coag Music. I don't know if that's how you say your name, but like I use your music all the time. I cannot believe you're in my stream right now. Thank you so much. That is so wonderful. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Even if you're just stopping by to say hi. Guys, please, if you guys do any videos or anything like that, he has the best music ever, like ambient music and all that stuff. Like the best. I seriously like him, and Mayu are my favorite place to get my music from. So, anyways, thank you. And thank you for doing such a service for us because it's really hard when you can't buy your own music and you have to find. I swear to God, I can't tell you how many times that I've typed in royalty free, free music, free. Like, it's a lot. I think I have 10 songs that I just keep using over and over again. And if you go to any creepypasta or horror narration channel, we all use the same music because a lot of us can't afford to actually buy licenses for any other music. So, okay. Anyways, moving on. This is by Ben Sobieck, and it's called The End of the Light in the Tunnel. Okay. So, let's get going. They always say it's a bad idea to Google medical symptoms. They say you should seek the advice of a real doctor. But after the past few nights, what doctor would believe you? There is a place between wakefulness and sleep that most visit only briefly each night. It can be a place of great ideas, total clarity, intense peace, and boundless imagination. It can also be a place of horrific hallucinations, bottomless anxiety, and paralyzing fear. Thankfully, most people only visit this place once in a night. But not you. You return to this place over and over again throughout the night. It's not quite a dream. It's not quite a reality. But it's opened a doorway to somewhere beyond your cozy bedroom. And there are always things stepping through that doorway. Strange things. You assume it's all in your head at first. You assume that waking up at 3 a.m. to the sound of your bedroom doorknob twisting is just a remnant of a dream. You assume lots of things. All of them are wrong. Because doors aren't supposed to open on their own, not even in a house as old as this one. And there's no reason that the shadow of a person should be cast against the open door. Just like there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to move. You can always... I'm sorry, I was looking at the comments. Yes, I do know that there's a lot of, a bunch of... Oh, Unnatural World. Hey! I'm working on your next video. I'll send that to you soon. If you guys didn't know, go ahead and click on Unnatural World. That's I'm doing narrations for his channel. He's great. It's really fun to work for him and do narrations for him. And yes, I do know there's a lot, but I prefer Mayu and Coag music. Hey. All right, let's keep going. You can only watch the shadow as it watches you. Its form darker than the night surrounding it. It lasts only as long as it takes for you to retreat back into the ignorance of sleep. Maybe it's better not to know what comes into your room at night. You search online for answers about quote-unquote shadow people visiting bedrooms at night. It only makes it worse. You learn how shadow people are bad omens. Some say they come from other dimensions. Some say they are demonic. Some say the worst ones wear hats. Hats? You say none of that sounds true, but a part of you knows it is, because they keep visiting, night after night after night. You meet a friend for coffee and explain what's happening. You tell and go over how you live alone in your house and that there's no good reason for these things to happen. You're probably dreaming or upset. Is there anything you want to talk about? Your friend says. But this is the thing you're upset about. This is the thing you want to talk about. So you change the conversation to the weather. And you Google, quote unquote, sleep paralysis when you get home. And you learn that this is somewhat normal. And you wait. Maybe things will get better. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second. I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced sleep paralysis, but I am a horrible sufferer of sleep paralysis. It probably happens once a month to me, twice a month maybe, especially if I'm really stressed out. And it is so terrifying. Trying to get out of sleep paralysis. It's the worst. You guys let me know in the chat if you guys have ever experienced sleep paralysis, because it is terrifying. Okay. Maybe things will get better, or maybe they won't. The sound of the door opening continues waking you at night, but that's not what terrifies you anymore. Let's see. Okay, he messed up that word. What is the feeling of the sheets being ripped off the bed, exposing your paralyzed body? You look for a source, but find only the shadow featured against the open door staring back at you. It's trying to tell you something. You can hear it if you'll only listen. But you don't want to listen. You don't want to know. In a moment, the paralysis relents, and you pull the sheets back onto the bed, praying you'll sleep again soon. You squeeze your eyes shut until you convince yourself that you really are asleep, only to be woken again by the feeling of the sheets falling to the floor. Night after night. Night after night. Night after night. Until whatever it is spreads to the ceiling. It happens the same way. You wake from sleep in the middle of the night to see what you swear are insects and spiders crawling across the ceiling. They start small. There are maybe 2 or 3 following the grooves of the ceiling. Then they're joined by several more, until there are writhing lines of marching above your head. But marching to where? You can't tell, and you don't care. You just want to go back to sleep. Night after night. Night after night. There must be a light at the end of the tunnel, your friend tells you when you meet again. There's no way this stuff isn't in your head. You wish that were true. Then you show your friend what you found one morning on your cell phone. It's a picture of you, asleep in your bed. But you live alone. Your friend doesn't know what to say. Neither do you. Maybe you live in a haunted house? Maybe. Maybe you've opened something you don't know how to close. You try a psychic next. You spend good money for a house call. The psychic is supposed to be the best in the business. After some sage burning and a few expressive headaches, the psychic tells you there's nothing to fear. The house is clear. No ghost. Never were. You show the You grab popcorn. It's okay. This story is about someone who is experiencing sleep paralysis. I didn't know. I thought you were still here. I didn't see you say be right back or anything. I would have waited. Anyways, let's keep going. I'll read another story. Don't worry. You show the psychic the picture of your cell phone. The picture on your cell phone. Isn't that proof enough? Call the police, the psychic says. Someone broke in. But the police don't know what to make of it either. Nothing in your house is missing or out of place. No, that's not quite right. Things are off. You didn't notice them at first, but they're there. Little things. It's in the way the carton of milk in the fridge finds its way to a new shelf in the morning. It's the way the napkins on the counter disappear faster than they should. It's the way the kitchen sink reeks of piss. Little things. Little scratches coming from inside the walls as you curl up on the couch to read. Have you guys guessed it yet? Little whispers from the other side of the shower curtain while you soap up in the mornings. Little goosebumps on the back of your neck at odd times throughout the day. Little crumbs of food in the hallway each morning that crackle beneath your bare feet. A little feeling that these things aren't so little. You tell your friend about your discoveries, but find little comfort. Sounds like you have a mouse problem, your friend says. You've had a bad streak of luck lately. Maybe you need a vacation? But you know better. There's just no way to prove it. There's only your fear of going to sleep each night, while whatever the hell you've unwittingly unlocked continues to seep into every crack and crevice of your life. You wonder if you did something to deserve this. Did a scared utterance mistakenly fly from your lips during a stutter, letting loose an unholy evil? Did you cross someone who put a curse on you? Is your house the scene of some terrific tragedy years ago? No, none of those things are true. What is true is the sound of the door opening yet again at night, waking you from a painfully needed bout of sleep. This time you've had enough. You struggle to sit up in bed, but your body won't respond. The shadow person watches your face contort in frustration. It lacks a face, but you can tell it's amused. But you're not amused. What do you want? You say to the shadow person in the doorway. Your words come out in a tumble of whispers. The door starts to shut, and the shadow person dissipates as it always does. You regain your ability to move, and you reach for your cell phone, but you don't call for help. You turn on the phone's video camera, then you slowly make your way out of the bedroom door, out into the dark of the house. You turn on every light as you make your way around the house, but you find nothing. You spend the night on the couch in the living room, finally getting a decent spat of sleep. In the morning, you wake and reach for your cell phone. Its battery is almost dead. You must have left it on overnight. You make breakfast and review the video you recorded last night. It continued recording after you fell asleep on the couch. Well, that doesn't make any sense because my phone would be like, excuse me, you have no more room? What are you doing? Seriously, I have so many pictures on my phone of K-pop stuff. It's just ridiculous. My phone would literally just go no. Okay. It continued recording after you fell asleep on the couch. You watch in terror as a shadow on the video moves past the couch while you sleep. It heads into the kitchen, opens the pantry door, and steps inside. You nearly drop the knife in your hand you're using to spread peanut butter. You look over your shoulder. You're standing next to the pantry door. You stop the video and listen. Something catches your ear. It's breathing. Light breathing. No, it's not just breathing. You hear a deep, husky chuckle, like someone trying to keep you from bursting into laughter. Like someone trying to keep from bursting into laughter. And it's coming from the pantry. The one only a few inches away. You wonder if it's only your imagination. You've been wondering that for a long time. So, you raise a knuckle to the pantry door, and you knock 3 times. And 3 knocks respond from the other side of the door. Now you're paralyzed in place, and you're not even asleep. You rarely go into the walk-in pantry. It's unfinished. It's full of holes and exposed studs and wiring. You barely took the time to check it out before you bought this house. Now you wish you had, because there is someone behind the pantry door, and that someone has been coming in the room at night. That someone ripped off your sheets. That someone took pictures of you sleeping. That someone ate your food, stood outside your shower, and pissed in your sink. I'm sorry. And all this time, through the fog of that place between dreaming and reality, you thought this house was haunted. It's true you weren't alone, but this is no ghost. This is someone living in the walls. This is someone who can't hold in the laugh anymore. This is someone who isn't just knocking on the door anymore. This is someone who is trying to push the door open. You push back, but the force is too strong. You're not ready for the door hitting you in the face. Between the confusion and the blood from your busted nose, you can't see who steps out from inside the pantry. But you feel him squeeze both sides of your ribs, spinning you around and tossing you into the pantry. It's dark as he closes the pantry door behind you, trapping you inside. That's when you remember the knife in your hand. It's only a butter knife, but it'll do. You lunge with the knife, hoping you'll get lucky and connect with something soft on his body. You're both surprised when the pantry receives the coat of paint it never had before in the form of his blood. It's more blood than you thought a person could hold, and it feels warm and all too human as it runs down your arm. It's like a wet hug. Ugh. You leave the pantry and let the light of the kitchen shine in. You see the weathered man dead on the sticky floor, his expired body looking like a glove with no hand. You're bothered by the way you're not bothered by the sight. The feeling only lasts a minute. There's a certain satisfaction to it. You killed him. You miss what? Oh. You missed G. Yeah, me too. She was such a good girl. Okay. You killed him. You did it. No one else. You took your house back. You took your life back. You proved everyone who said you were crazy wrong. It's the best you felt in years. No more fear. No more sleepless nights. No more feeling powerless. And you did it all with the knife you used to spread peanut butter. You put it right in the You put it right in his fucking throat, and he died. Just like that. There's nothing magical about it. It's simple. Satisfying. Like popping a zit. You find a place to dump the man's body far from where someone would ever find it. It takes a long time, but you manage to clean the pantry out too. You sell the house a few weeks later. The new buyer only gave the pantry a passing glance. You tell the buyer to store the food in the cupboards because the pantry is unfinished. And also because you're not planning on moving out. Because now, you're the one up at night eating food. You're the one pissing in the sink. You're the one standing outside the shower. You're the one opening the bedroom door at night. You're the one ripping the sheets off the bed. You're the one who can't wait for when the pantry door opens for the light to hit your eyes. And you'll think to yourself how it looks like the light at the end of the tunnel, but you'll know it's not. It's the end of the light in the tunnel, and you're the one to make it dark again. The end. So yeah, what'd you guys think about that story? She turned into the shadow. She turned into the evil person. I don't know if it was a she or a he. It's kind of nondescript. But I guess she liked killing him. That was pretty good, right? I'm glad you guys liked it. Got 4 people watching. All right. All right, do you guys want to hear another one? Ugh. I swear to God, I have so many notifications. And they're all from YouTube. I know me. They're like, when I said pissing in the sink, I was like, no one else is going to take this seriously after I said that. I felt the same way, seriously. I was like, I tried so hard not to laugh. Seriously, I was like, "Oh god. Hang on. My friend is trying so hard to get into this chat. She really, really is, and she can't. Apparently, I'm just gonna snap a picture of the chat and send it to her so she sees. She's like, "How can there be 4 people in the chat when it's not working?" I'm like, "But it is." Okay. How would what work? And hey, Wolf Gamer, you better stop giving away like endings to things. I miss G. Stop it. Maybe someone hasn't listened to Sesang yet. You don't know. You don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody has, but it's okay. All right, let's find another short story, shall we? One that doesn't involve pissing in sinks. Creepypasta stories. It's actually spelled J-I. Shez, you should definitely watch my narration of Sesang. It's on my channel. I don't know if you have or not. But Toby? Is that a creepypasta? But yeah, he's referencing that creepypasta I wrote and narrated. Oh, it is a creepypasta. Okay. TC Toby? Okay. Found it. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Let's see. TC Toby is a fictional proxy of the Slender Man from the creepypasta of the same name written by Castaway. The story focuses on Toby's descent into madness and his first encounter with the Slender Man. Is that what you're talking about? Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm trying to find the actual creepypasta. I'm only doing short ones, so if this is too long, I'm not going to be able to read it. Oh, there's the original story on Wattpad. Cool. Okay, how long is it? Oh, it's not that long. Okay, we'll read that. Okay, is everybody familiar with the Slender Man? I'm sure you are. Let's see. I found this one on Wattpad. It said, "This story does not belong to me, and all credit goes to the original writer. I do not know who the original writer is of TC Toby. I will try and find that out. Wow, this person who put it on Wattpad did not put any spaces in between paragraphs. Isn't that annoying? It's really annoying. Okay. All right, this one's called TC Toby. The long road home seemed to go on and on. The road continued to outstretch in front of the vehicle endlessly. The light that shone through the branches of the tall trees danced across the window in random patterns, every once in a while, obnoxiously shining in your eyes. The surrounding was full of deep green trees forming a forest around the road. The only sound was the sound of the car's engine that traveled down the path. It was peaceful and let off a serene feeling. Although the ride seemed like a nice one, it lacked every form of nice for both passengers. The middle-aged woman behind the steering wheel had neat short brown hair that fit her complexion quite well. She wore a green V-neck t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. Diamond stud earrings decorated each of her ears, which partially showed from behind her haircut. She had deep green eyes, which were brought out by her shirt, and the lighting seemed to make them more noticeable. There wasn't much significance to her appearance. She just looked like any average mother that you'd see on TV shows and such. But one thing for sure made her differ from those average mothers, and that was the dark bags under her eyes. Her facial expression was gloomy and sad, although she genuinely looked like the one who smiled a lot. She would sniffle every once in a while, and occasionally glance back to the rearview mirror to look at her son in the back seat, who was hunched over partially, his arms held tight around his chest, and his head pressed against the cold window. Sorry, I need some water. Ugh. Okay. Okay, here we go. Head pressed against the cold window. The boy lacked any normal appearance. Anyone could blandly? Man, I hate typos. Throws off my groove. The boy lacked any normal appearance. Anyone could blatantly see that something was wrong with him. His messy brown hair went in every which way, and his pale, almost gray skin was brought out by the luminescent lighting. His eyes were dark, unlike his mother's, and he wore a white t-shirt and scrub pants that had been provided to him by the hospital. The clothes he had worn before were so shredded and blood-stained that they weren't wearable anymore. The right side of his face bared a few cuts along his split eyebrows. His right arm was bandaged up all the way up to his shoulder, which had been shredded with his right side, had hit the shattered glass. His injuries appeared to be painful, when really he couldn't feel a thing. He never could feel a thing. That was just one of the glories about being him. One of the many challenges he had to face growing up was growing up with the rare disease that caused him to be completely numb towards pain. Side note, I watched a House episode about that. Man, can you imagine not being able to feel pain at all? Like, if you bit off your tongue, you wouldn't even be able to know. Like, you would just be like, oh, wait, blood's coming out of my mouth. What happened? Like, if you cut yourself, like, you couldn't feel anything. That's a real disease. Me, on the other hand, I feel everything 10 times. Because, random fact for you guys to know, is that redheads, they actually feel more pain than most people do. So, that's a fun fact for me. Because when I get hurt and I have to go to the hospital, they have to give me 10 times the pain medication. So that's fun. Anyways, all right. It would not be cool to not feel pain. Like, what if you broke your leg? You would just be like chilling there, and someone would be like, "Yo, your bone's sticking out. You good, man?" Like, no. Okay. Where were we? That was just one of the glories about being him. One of the many challenges he had to face growing up was growing up with the rare disease that caused him to be completely numb towards pain. Never before had he felt himself get hurt. He could have lost an arm and felt nothing. That and another major disorder he had faced was the one that deemed him many insulting nicknames in the short time he attended grade school. Before he was moved to a homeschooling, was his Tourette syndrome, which caused him to tick and twitch in ways he couldn't control. He would crack his neck uncontrollably and twitch every once in a while. Ooh. The kids would tease him and call him Ticky Toby and mock him with exaggerated twitching and laughing. It got so bad he turned to homeschooling. Dude, that would be cool. Yeah, but okay, okay. Well, yeah, I guess it would be pretty cool if you couldn't feel pain, but it still would have its downsides. Like, you would, like, what if you broke your arm and you didn't know it, and then, like, it got, like, infected, and then you had to get your arm cut off? Like, that wouldn't be fun. I don't know. Okay. The kids would tease him and call him Ticky Toby and mock him with exaggerated twitching and laughing. It got so bad that he turned to homeschooling. It was too hard for him to be in the common learning environment, with seemingly every kid poking and more like stabbing fun at him. Toby stared blankly out the window. His face was empty of any depictable emotion, and every few minutes his shoulder, arm, or foot would twitch. Every bump that the car tires made his stomach turn. Toby Rogers was the boy's name, and the last time Toby remembered riding in a car was when it crashed. That's all he thought about, unconsciously replaying everything he had remembered before he blacked out over and over again. Toby had been the lucky one, when his sister hadn't been so lucky. When the thought of his older sister came, he couldn't help but let his eyes begin to tear up. The horrible memories replayed in his mind. Her screaming that had been cut off when the front of the car was smashed in. It all went It all went blank for a moment before Toby opened his eyes to see his sister's body, her forehead pierced with glass shards. Her hips and legs were crushed under the force of the steering wheel, her torso pushed in the form and from the late inflated airbag. This was the last thing he'd seen of his dear older sister. The road home continued on for what seemed like forever. It took so long to get home due to his mother wanting to avoid passing the site of the crash. When the surrounding gave into a familiar neighborhood, they both had been more ready to get out of the car and step back into their own home. It was an older neighborhood, with quaint little houses all next to each other. The car drove in front of a little blue house, with white window panes. They both quickly noticed the old vehicle that was parked in front of the house, and the familiar figure who stood out in the driveway. Toby felt automatic anger and frustration take over him at the sight of his father who wasn't there. His mother pulled the car into the driveway beside him before turning off the engine and preparing to step out and face her husband. "Why is he here?" Toby said quietly, as he looked back to his mother, who reached to open the car door. "He's your father, Toby. He's here because he wants to see you." His mother responded with a monotone voice, trying to sound less shaky. "Yet he could have driven up to the hospital to see Lyra before she died," Toby stuttered, narrowing his eyes out the window. "He was drunk that night, honey. He couldn't drive." "Yeah, when is he not?" Toby pushed open the door before his mother and stumbled out onto the driveway, where he met his father's gaze before looking down at his feet with a stern expression. His mother stepped out behind him and met her husband's eyes before walking around the car. His father opened up his arms, expecting a hug from his wife, but she walked past him and put her arm around Toby's shoulder and influenced him to begin walking inside. "Connie," her husband began to say under a raspy voice. "What, no welcome home hug, huh?" She ignored her husband's obnoxious words and walked past him with her son under her arm. "Hey, he's 16. He can walk by himself." His father began to follow them in. "He's 17. Connie glared back at him, before opening the door to the house and stepping inside. "Toby, why don't you go get into your room and rest, okay? I'll come get you when dinner is ready." "No, I'm 16. I can walk by my I'm sorry. "No, I'm 16. I can walk by myself," Toby said sarcastically, and glared back at his father before stumbling up the small staircase and turning into his room, where he slammed the door violently. His small little room didn't have much in it. Just a small bed, a dresser, a window, and his walls had a few framed pictures of his family back when they were a family, before his father became an alcoholic and acted violently towards the rest of his family. Toby remembered when he was arguing with his mother, and he grabbed her by the hair and shoved her to the floor. And when Lyra had tried to break it up, he pushed her, and she hit her back on the corner of the kitchen counter. Toby could never forgive him for what he did to his mother and his sister. Never. Toby didn't care how much his father beat him down. He couldn't feel it anyway. What did he care about? What did he care about was how he intentionally hurt the only two people he cared about. Okay, that sentence was weird. And when he was waiting in the hospital, when his sister took her last few breaths, the only person who didn't rush there was his dad. Toby stood by the window and looked out onto the street. He could have sworn he saw things out of the corner of his eye, but quickly blamed it on the medication he had been put on. When dinner time had come around, and his mother called up to him, Toby came down the stairs and hesitantly sat down at the table across from his father, and in between his mother and an empty chair. It was quiet as his parents picked up their food, but Toby refused to eat. Instead, he just watched his dad with a blank stare. That's creepy. His mother caught onto his stare towards his father and elbowed him slightly. Toby looked over at her slightly and looked down at his uneaten food, which he didn't touch. Toby laid in bed. He pulled the covers over his head and stared at the window. He was tired, but there was no way he would fall asleep. He couldn't. There was too much to think about. He had been debating on whether or not to follow his mother's directions and forgive his father, or continue holding on to a grudge with his boiling hatred. He heard his door creak open, and his mother padded into the room and sat on the bed next to him. She reached over and rubbed his back, which had been turned to her. "I know it's hard, Toby. Trust me. I understand. But I promise you, it will get better," she said softly. "When is he going to leave?" Toby said, with an innocent tone and a shaky voice. Connie let her gaze fall down to her feet. "I don't know, honey. He's staying as far as I know," she replied. Toby didn't respond. He just continued to look forward at the wall, holding his damaged arm near his chest. After a few minutes of silence, his mother sighed before she leaned in to kiss his cheek and stood up to walk out of the door. "Good night," she said as she closed the door. The hours passed slowly, and Toby couldn't quit tossing and turning. Every time he let his imagination take over, he heard the screeching of the tires, the screaming of his sister, and he could uncontrollably jerk in bed. He threw off his covers, laying on his back. He pulled his pillow over his face and cried into it. He could feel his chest rise and fall as he let out each shaky breath as he cried. He could hear his own pitiful weeping. He could have been screaming and crying if he didn't press the pillow over his face. After a few seconds, he threw the pillow off of his face as well and sat up, hunched over, holding his head, breathing roughly, tears streaming from his eyes. He couldn't help but cry. He tried to keep it in, but he couldn't help but whine and whimper as he sat there shaking. He inhaled before he stood up and walked around his bed to the window and peered out, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. He rubbed his eyes and looked out at the group of tall pine trees across the street. He stopped suddenly, and his gaze slowly centered on something standing under the street light. He heard ringing in his ears, and he couldn't look away. The figure stood beside the streetlight, about 2 feet shorter than it, long arms draped on its sides, and it stared up at him with non-existing eyes. The figure had no features whatsoever, no eyes, no mouth, no nose. Yet it held Toby's hypnotized stare, seemingly peering into his very being. The ringing in his ears grew louder and louder each second that he stared before suddenly it all went black. The next morning, Toby woke in his bed. He felt different. He wasn't tired at all. And when he consciously woke up, it felt like he had been laying there, awake for hours. He had no thoughts flowing through his mind. He sat up slowly and stumbled over to the wall. But when he stood up, he automatically felt dizzy. He stumbled to the doorway and walked downstairs. His parents were at the table. His father was entombed with a small TV that sat on the countertop, and his mother reading the newspaper. She quickly looked over when she felt Toby's presence looming behind her. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead. You've been sleeping forever." She greeted him with a hesitated smile. Toby slowly looked over at the clock and noticed that it was 12:30 p.m. "I made you breakfast, but it got cold. I was going to wake you, but I felt you needed sleep." Her expression fell from happy to worried as her son resisted responding to her. Are you all right?" Toby stumbled over and sat by his father. He felt as if he was on idle and had no control over his actions. He was seeing everything he did, but it didn't seem to register in his brain properly. He reached out to his father's arm, but his hand ended up getting slapped. His father turned to him abruptly and pushed his chair over with his foot. "Don't touch me, boy," he yelled. His mother stood up. "All right, knock that off. That's the last thing we need." The day went by, and things continued as they were. Connie spent most of her time cleaning up the house, and her rude husband spent most of his time ordering her around. It was just how it used to be before the crash. Toby never really left his room. He would sit by his bed and tremble. His mind would wander, but his thoughts changed too fast to be remembered. He would pace around his small room like a caged animal, or stare around out the window. The unhealthy cycle continued. Connie continued to be pushed around by her husband, being way too submissive to him, and Toby remained in his room. Before he could think twice, he would begin to chew on his hands, tearing the flesh from his fingers. He would gnaw his hands until they bled. When his mother walked in on him while he was doing so, she reacted horribly. She rushed him downstairs and grabbed the first aid, wrapping his hands in it. She demanded that he wouldn't leave her side from then. He isolated himself so much that he grew to hate being around others. His memory grew glitchy as well. He'd start missing memories of minutes, hours, days, and so on. I need more water. Hang on. Starting to lose memories. That's not good. He would begin talking nonsense about things completely unrelated to conversations he would have. He'd go off about seeing things. Sharks in his sink as he washed the dishes. Oh, God. Sharks are my number one fear. So that would be absolutely terrifying. Oh, thank you, Elena. That makes me so, so happy. I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I really, 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 really appreciate that. Like, it makes me feel so good. And it makes me want to upload content, when I get comments like that. You guys are the best. I know it's kind of weird that I have like a horror/K-pop channel, and sometimes gaming. My channel's like a freaking shut up, Wolf Gamer. All right, I'll continue. Thank you, Elena. I appreciate it. Okay. He'd go off about seeing things like sharks in his sink as he washed the dishes, hearing crickets in his pillows, and seeing ghosts outside his bedroom window. All the nonsense landed him in a counselor's office. His mother grew too anxious about his mental health. She decided it would be good for him to talk to a professional about what he was feeling. Connie walked Toby into the building, holding his hand and guiding him in. She walked him up to the front desk and began talking to the lady who sat behind it. "Mrs. Rogers?" the lady asked. "Yes, that's me." Connie nodded. "We're here to see Dr. Oliver." "Yes, right this way." The lady stood up and led them down a long hallway. Toby looked at the framed artwork down the halls and tuned in to the sound of the lady's high heels on the hardwood floor. She opened the door to a room with a table and 2 chairs. "If we can get him to sit in here for a few minutes, I'll get the doctor." She smiled and held the door open. Toby stumbled into the room and sat down at the table. He looked over at his mother and the lady before the door slowly shut behind them. He looked around the room before he held up his tightly bandaged hands and began to bite at the bandages to unwrap his hands, but was interrupted by the door swung open and a young woman in a black and white spotted dress and light blonde hair stepped in, holding a clipboard and a pen. "Toby?" she asked with a smile. Toby looked at her and nodded. "Nice to meet you, Toby. My name is Dr. Oliver." She put her hand out for him to shake, but hesitantly pulled away when she noticed his bandaged hands. "Oh," she smiled nervously before clearing her throat and sitting in the chair across the table from him. "So, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Try to answer them as honestly as possible, okay?" She placed her clipboard down on the table. Toby nodded slowly and held his restrained hands in his lap. "How old are you, Toby?" 17. He responded quietly. She wrote that down on the paper that was clipped to the clipboard. "What's your full name?" "Toby Aaron Rogers." "And what's your birthday?" "April 28th. "Who is your immediate family?" Toby paused for a minute before answering. "My mom, my dad, and..." He stopped. "My sister?" Oh, I heard about your sister, dear. I'm really sorry." Her expression faded into a sad, pity-filled look. Toby nodded. "Do you remember anything from the crash, Toby?" Toby looked away from her. His mind went blank for a moment. He looked down at his lap, and in the surrounding, he heard a faint ringing sound. His eyes widened, and he froze in place. "Toby?" the counselor asked. "Toby? Are you listening? Hello?" Toby felt a shiver go down his spine until he froze once again and slowly looked over out the little window through the door, where he saw it. A dark, featureless figure, peering in at him. He stared, eyes widened, the ringing growing louder and louder, until suddenly the loud voice of the counselor broke his trance. "Toby!" she yelled. Toby jumped and fell sideways out of his chair and backed up into the corner. Sorry. Toby jumped and fell sideways out of his chair and back up into the corner. Dr. Oliver stood up, holding her clipboard to her chest. A surprised look in her eyes. Toby met her eyes again, his breath hitching as he twitched. That night, Toby lay in bed, his eyes dazed as he stared straight up at the ceiling. He could feel himself begin to doze off when he heard the scattering of footsteps down the hallway. He sat up and looked towards the doorway, his door wide open. There was no light. Everything was lit by the luminescent blue glow of the moon through his window, leaving a cold lighting. He stood up and slowly made his way towards the doorway, when suddenly the door, which was previously wide open, slammed in his face. Did I scare you? He gasped as he fell back. He was out of breath when he hit the ground and began breathing heavily. His eyes wide open. He waited for a few seconds before getting back up on his feet. He reached out and grasped the cold door handle with his bandaged hands and creaked it open. He looked out into the dark hallway and tiptoed out of his room. The window at the end of the hallway lit up the darkness with blue moonlight as he padded his way down. He could hear footsteps rustling around him, and faint giggles let by the pitter-patter of small feet, which sounded like a child that had been running in front of him, giggling and running around. The hallway was a lot longer than he had remembered. It seemed endless, like the ride home from the hospital. He heard a door creak in front of him. "Mom?" he called out in a shaky voice. Suddenly, a door slammed behind him, and he jumped and turned around. Behind him, he heard a long, eerie groan from behind him that sounded to croak right in his ear. He turned around as fast as he could and was suddenly face to face with none other than his dear dead sister. Her eyes were clouded with white, her pale skin, and the right side of her jaw was only dangling by tissue and muscle, glass protruding from her forehead, and a black blood leaking from down her face. Her blonde hair pulled back up into a ponytail as it always was, wearing her gray t-shirt and athletic shorts, which were dirty and spotted with blood. Her legs were bent in ways that shouldn't be. She stood emitting a long croaking noise, only an inch away from Toby's face. Toby yelped and fell back. "Ugh!" He started to crawl backwards away from her, not able to break the eye contact he held with her. Blank, dead eyes. He dragged himself backwards until he backed up into something. He stopped for a second. Everything was dead silent except for his heavy breathing and crying. He slowly looked up to meet the blank face of a tall, dark figure that stood over him. Behind the tall black mask were rows and rows of children, looking to range from 3 to 10 years old. Their eyes completely black, and dark black blood leaked from their eyes and sockets. He screamed and stood up as fast as he could, only to be tripped by the dark black tendrils that wrapped around his ankle. He fell straight on his stomach and got the wind knocked out of his chest. He tried to scream out, but he couldn't. He couldn't make a sound. He wheezed out before it went all black. Toby woke up with a start. He screamed out and sat up as fast as he could, completely short of breath. He wheezed out and held his chest with his bandaged hands. It was just a dream. Just a dream. He laid back down on his bed and rolled over on his side. It felt like a giant weight had been lifted off of his chest as he took in deep breaths. He stood up and padded over to his window. He saw nothing. Nobody was out there. No ghost, no children, no figures. Nothing. He heard the rustling and coughing of his father out the doorway. His door was closed. He walked over and opened it, looking out into the hallway once again. He walked down the hallway and into his kitchen, where he found his dad standing and having a smoke in their living room. Toby waited a second and watched him from around the corner before a burning feeling started deep in his chest. Deep, boiling anger took over him. He heard the little imaginary voices in his head. Do it. Do it. Do it. They chanted. He turned away and held his arms. He felt like he actually had control over himself, unlike he did for the past few weeks since he got home from the hospital. He actually had complete thoughts for just moments before they were clouded by the chanting of the little voices in his head. Kill him. He wasn't there. He wasn't there. Kill him. Kill him. They continued on. Toby trembled. No, he wasn't going to do it. What was he going to... was he going crazy? No, he wouldn't kill anyone. He can't. He hated his father, yes, but hated no way he was going to kill him. But hatred was not a way... Wait, but hated no way... Okay, that sentence makes no sense. Author, thank you. He hated his father, but he didn't hate him enough to kill him. I'll say that. That was it. The last thought he had before he fell into an idle state once again. The influence of the voices in his head was too much. He began to silently walk up behind his father. He reached over the counter to the knife holder in the kitchen and pulled out the largest knife that had been resting in the case. He gripped it in his hand. He felt a sensation take over his chest. He let out a snicker. He began laughing so hard he had to gasp for breath. His father turned around abruptly before he felt a brute force shove him into the floor. He grunted on as the wind was knocked out of him. What? He looked up to the boy who stood over him, grasping the kitchen knife in his hand. Toby, what are you doing? He went to sit up and put his hand and arms out in front of him in self-defense, but before he knew it, Toby was on top of him. He went to grab at his neck, but his father reached out and blocked his hand by grabbing onto his wrist. Stop! Get off of me, you little fucker! He yelled. With his other hand, he threw on off-center punch towards Toby's shoulder, but he didn't stop. The look in Toby's eyes was not sane. It looked as if the demon had taken control of him. He yelled back and went to stab the knife into his father's chest, but he blocked him and grabbed onto his wrist once again. He went to shove him back, but Toby kicked out his feet in front of him and landed a hard blow straight to his face. His father recoiled and pulled his arm away to cuff his face, but Toby got back up and drove the knife straight into his shoulder. His father let out a loud cry and went to pull the knife out, but before he could, Toby threw his fist straight into his face. He began to pound his fist into his head, laughing and wheezing. He cracked his neck and grabbed the knife and ripped into his shoulder. He drove it deep into his dad's chest and repeatedly stabbed into his torso, blood spilling everywhere, getting splatters everywhere. He didn't stop until his father's body went still. He threw the knife over to the side, leaned over his body, coughing and panting. He stared at his smashed-in face and sat there twitching, his neck cracking, until a loud scream broke the silence. He looked over to see his mother standing a few feet away, covering her mouth, tears streaming down her eyes. Toby! She screamed. Well, why did you do that? She cried. Why? She screamed. Toby stood up and began to back away from his father's bloody corpse. He began to back out of the kitchen. He looked down at the blood-soaked bandages on his hands and looked up at his mother one last time before he turned and ran out of the house. He ran into the garage and slammed his hand against the control panel on the wall and pushed the button to open the garage door. Before he ran out, his father's two hatchets that had been hanging on the tool rack above a table full of jars filled to the brim with old rusted nails and screws. He grabbed both of them. One hatchet was new. It had bright orange handle and shiny blade. The other was old, with a wooden handle and an old dull blade. He grabbed both and looked down at the table. His eyes met a box of matches, and under the table was a red gasoline tank. He held both of the hatches in one hand and grabbed the matches. I'm sorry. The way the author posted this, like, it's really small writing and it's all jumbled together. So I'm sorry I keep messing up. He held both of the hatchets in one hand and grabbed the matches and gasoline before running out of the garage. down the driveway and up the street. As he approached the streetlight that he could see out his own bedroom window, he heard police sirens in the distance. He turned around, and the red and blue flashing lights came rushing down the street. Toby stood for a second before he pulled open the cap of the gasoline tank and ran down the street, spilling gasoline all over the street after him, and he turned to run into the trees. He poured the last bit of gasoline out before he reached in his pocket and pulled out the match. He struck it against the box and immediately dropped it. In an instant, flames burst out around him. The fire caught onto the trees and bushes around him, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by fire. The silhouettes of police cars were visible through the flames as he backed away into the forest around him. He looked around, but his vision was blurred. His heart was pounding, and he closed his eyes for a moment. This was it. This was the end. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked over to see a large white hand with long, bony fingers that rested on his shoulder. He followed the arm that was attached to the hand up to the towering dark figure. It appeared to be wearing a dark black suit, and its face was completely blank. It towered over Toby's small frame, and it looked down at him. Tendrils reached out from its back. Before Toby knew it, his vision blurred, and he was surrounded by the sound of ringing in his ears. Everything went blank. That was it. That was the end. That was how Toby Rogers died. A few weeks later, Connie sat in her sister's kitchen. Her sister Lori sat next to her, drinking a cup of coffee. About 3 weeks ago, Connie lost her husband and her son, and a few weeks before, she had lost her daughter to a car crash. Since then, she moved in with her sister. The police were keeping her busy. They just finished cleaning up the case, and the story had been released 2 weeks ago, and the focus of the world seemed to have shifted to completely new stories. Lori switched on the TV to a news broadcast. On the TV, the news reporter began introducing the new headline. We have breaking news. Last night, there had been a reported murder of 4 individuals. There are no suspects yet, but the victims were a group of middle school kids who had been out in the woods late at night. The kids had been bludgeoned and stabbed to death. The investigators had discovered a weapon at the crime scene, which appeared to be an old, dull-bladed hatchet, as you can see here. The picture changed to show snapshots of the weapon exactly as it was left on the crime scene. Investigators had pulled the name of a possible suspect. Toby Rogers, a 17-year-old boy who a few weeks ago had stabbed his father to death and tried to cover up his escape by setting a fire in the streets and forest around the neighborhood. Although they had believed the young boy had died in the fire, investigators suspect that Rogers may still be alive, due to the fact that his body was never found. The end. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I kept messing up, guys. That was rough. That was a pretty good story, though. I like it. I've always enjoyed Slender Man. Slender Man was one of the first creepypastas that I ever read. Now you could probably go and watch Slender Man anytime you want to on any channel, any horror narration channel. But yeah, I definitely recommend, if you guys like listening to horror stories, I definitely recommend Creeps with Pasta. Oh, hey, Meg. You finally made it. You're welcome, Wolf Gamer. That was a good request to make. But yeah, if you guys like horror gaming stuff, or horror gaming, if you guys like horror stories, Creeps with Pasta, Mr. Creepypasta, Mr. Nightmare, yeah, there's a whole bunch of ones that I listen to all the time. Oh, Meg. Did you just get here? Did you listen to any of it? Meg's my best friend, guys. She is actually a brilliant writer herself. Which I will be reading one of her stories on my channel. It is actually like an alternate universe kind of thing. I was going to read the prologue today, but the stream took longer than I thought it was going to get ready. So I have to go to dinner, but I will be doing another live stream, and but I'll be doing it then. So sorry, Meg, I'm sorry I can't do your prologue, but I will do it on the next live stream, or I will just do it as a video and upload it. It's an alternate universe, and it's actually fantastic. She really is a fantastic writer. I couldn't say more about her as a writer. You know, turns out I needed the YouTube update. Poor Meg. But I'm glad that you guys stuck around and were able to hear my stories that I wrote. I hope that you guys will enjoy my upload of When the Black-Eyed Children Knock. Please go and to his Wattpad, which I linked in the description of the teaser trailer that I uploaded, and tell him that Mistress Horror sent you. Also, Miss Horrendous, I am so excited to almost finish with her video. I'm taking it very, very seriously because Hide and Seek is one of the #1 most read horror books on Wattpad, and I was given the commission to do it. So that's huge for me. And so it's going to take a little while for me to get it done, as it's taken me like 4 months to do, even longer. But like I said, school just started. I have 2 jobs, so I have to adult, but I try to keep up with my channel as much as possible. If you guys want to add me on Twitter, it's at Runbeck Official, which is in the description of this live chat or live stream. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm on there mostly. I'll follow back. Yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this stream. I hope that you guys had a good time as much as I did. Honestly, I have no idea how to even end a stream. So let's see. Oh, how do you even end a stream? Live control room. So weird. Like, why does this have to be so complicated? Just not. It's like you don't have to be complicated. You can just be simple. Okay. But I will be having streams like this in the future. And I will be uploading my horror stuff, my K-pop stuff, my action adventure stories, which the only one I'm ever going to read is Meg's. So now it's going to be really cool. It's called Angels and Vampires. Vampires and Angels. Angels and Vampires. And so it's going to be really good. Sometimes I do live broadcast of my gameplay and do commentary with that. So yeah, that's about it. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for, and I need to figure out how to turn the stream off. I don't know how to turn it off. Let's see if I can figure out how to turn off the stream. Because I'm such an idiot. I don't know how to do it. I hope that I did okay for my first stream. Let's see. It's live now, so completed. Let's see. Because I'm doing it through Hangouts, so see if I can end it now. I'm such an idiot, guys. Like, seriously? Like, I don't even know. 26 years old. Okay. Oh. Okay, so I don't know how to turn this off, guys. Seriously? Such an idiot. Maybe if I just exit out, maybe that'll turn it off. I don't know. Like, I got it going. Now I gotta figure out how to turn it off. Oh, wait. I'm such an idiot. Hang on. I'm sorry, Wolf Gamer. Aren't I subscribed to you? I'm still trying to figure out how to turn this off, okay? Just settings, maybe? No, I don't want to go into theater mode. You guys just like watching me or listening to me being an idiot, right? Because I don't know how to turn off a stream. Like, I watch people do streams all the freaking time, and I'm like, oh, that looks easy. But it's not. Okay. Well, more maybe? More actions? The struggle is so real. The struggle is real. It is so real. Live control. You guys. Yeah, Shez got to hear my awesome Donald Duck impression a few nights ago when when I was doing live streaming of Kingdom Hearts. I was reading out the dialogue and I tried to do Donald Duck and it was absolutely horrendous. And I am never doing it again. Google has all the answers. It does. How to turn off a live stream. Was the sound good on this, guys? I mean, like, was I am not doing the Donald Duck impersonation, if that's what you're saying. I'm not doing it. I refuse. I refuse. It's not happening. Because it was actually the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. No. No. You could not pay me $100. Okay, you could pay me $100 and I would do it. But I'm not doing it right now. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn off this damn this damn live stream. I don't Okay, let's see. No. I'm not. Because I don't even Shez, please tell them how horrible it was. Please. It was horrible. It was bad. It was horrendous. Okay. I'm on. Why? What? Oh my god, I lost a subscriber. How did I lose a subscriber? Ouch. I had 917 when I started the stream and now I have 916. Ow. That hurts. I seriously don't know how to end the stream, guys. Like, I don't. Community live streaming. Okay, live streaming. Yes, I'm live streaming. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it, Google. I mean, YouTube. Same thing. Yep, that's still on. Info and settings. Live control panel, blah, blah. Maybe if I just turn it off, like maybe if I just exit out. It's ridiculous. Manage. It was not funny. It was horrible. Yeah, I don't know who unsubscribed. Much sad. Okay. I'm just gonna shut off, like, why was this so much easier? Like, it said online and not offline. Like, where did that go? Like, I watch PewDiePie streams all the time, and he's like, he just turns it off so easily. And I'm like, okay, well, How do you turn that shit off? This is ridiculous. You would think that this would be a lot easier. Okay. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to message Meg and see if it turns off. So if it turns off when I exit out, goodbye. If not, then I'll have to come back on and try and turn it off again. I love you guys. I'm just going to try and exit out of my browser to see if maybe I'll turn it off then. I highly doubt it will, but I'm going to try. But if it does turn off, I love you guys, and I will see you later. But if it doesn't, I'll be back. Oh, wait, here we go. Stop broadcasting.